Thanks to a strong knowledge economy and an abundance of colleges, Massachusetts has a rich supply of skilled workers. But if you look more closely, you'll see there's still a shortage of workers needed for middle-skilled jobs. One effort to close that gap is the 6th annual Power Engineering Day, taking place Friday in Boston at the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology. To tell us about the event, as well as opportunities in jobs and learning, is the Institute's president and CEO, Anthony Benoit. Thank you very much for being with us, Anthony.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, for people who are a little puzzled about that term, what is a middle-skill job exactly?
A middle-skill job is a job that requires a fairly high degree of skill, actually. So it has more skill than you would get from a high school education. But most bachelor's programs are not set up to prepare people to step right into one of those jobs. So we think of it as a job that needs more than high school, but not necessarily a bachelor's degree.
Well, I'm thinking of a job that maybe involves machines. In the old days, if you had a tool set and some good math in your head, that was enough. But today, I guess it means machines, maybe with computers as well?
Very often machines are connected to computers, or they are essentially computers themselves. And so it takes a great deal of familiarity with information technology, as well as whatever task the machine is doing. So in manufacturing, for example, there are machine tools which produce parts, and those are typically controlled by computers today.
Well, one of the other things that you're concerned about by holding this event for the past 6 years is the need for some kind of middle-skilled workers in the power sector. What are we talking about with that?
Well, we're all familiar with electric power as a critical component of our lives today, and we pretty much take the electric grid for granted until it's not working properly. But because there is such a high demand on electricity, there is a huge need for people with appropriate skills in that area. Many of the jobs actually would be considered high-skilled jobs, not necessarily middle skill, but a typical electrical engineering graduate has focused on small devices or computers, but not necessarily on grid-scale devices or high voltages. So this event gets people excited about the possibility of working with the electric power grid.
What is the excitement exactly? I mean, other than the fact that they might be making pretty decent money for doing this.
Well, certainly the money is one of the attractions, but you're really in the middle of everything. If you're working on the electric power grid, your work is critical to keeping everything else running. And some of the exhibitors, many of the employers come in to give exhibits, and they also talk about how exciting the work can be. Of course, we hope that it's not too exciting. We want everyone to work safely, but when you look at the scale involved, it can be quite captivating to the young people.
I can also see how it would be intimidating if you had to jump from textbook learning to a work environment. What about bridging that gap at the Institute? Are there internships or things like that sort of fill the gap in between?
Absolutely. We do two types of things to bridge that gap. One is most of our classes, most of the technical classes include a laboratory component. And so you will be working hands-on with equipment similar to what you'd be using in the field. Then we also try to get the students actually on the work site, into the workplace, so that they are working alongside people who are doing the job today. Both of those are critical for putting their book learning to use, putting it to work.
Right. We're talking with Anthony Benoit from the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology. Anthony, as far as where this institute is located, because a lot of people say they've never heard of that before, but then again, some people, they might have even just walked by it on the way to the tea or something. We talk about the location.
Sure. We're in the south end of Boston, at the corner of Berkeley and Tremont Street, and many people have walked by. The building's only been there for 110 years, so you can see in Boston that's not very long, but it is a rather unassuming brick structure until you go inside, and then people are usually quite astounded when they see the laboratories inside.
Well, we all know about Benjamin Franklin's interest in electrical engineering, but how did the school get started exactly?
Well, Benjamin Franklin was born in Boston and did an apprenticeship here, and then he became rich and famous in Philadelphia. But he left a gift to the city of Boston in his will for the training of apprentices. And in the early 20th century, that gift was matched by Andrew Carnegie, who prompted the city to open a school for the training of apprentices. And that school is today the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology.
Well, of course, what students have to struggle with today is the cost of education. And some people might be saying, this sounds great, but how am I going to afford this? What do you say to students who ask questions like that?
Well, I say, take a good look at the value that you'll be getting from the education. And most of our students get significant support from the federal government, and then we also provide scholarship support to 90% of the students. And when you look closely at the numbers, you can see that it is a very good investment of your time and money to go to the school, that the jobs that you get on the way out are well worth the time.
Now, I imagine also there might be students out there, maybe they're still in high school right now, and maybe before they saw you talking right here, they never heard of power engineering before, but if they were to go to this event, what do you think would pull them in?
Well, they're welcome to come down Friday morning at 9 o'clock, this Friday, the 9th. They would see people who work in the industry now, who are often quite excited about the work they do. They would see examples of the equipment that's used in the field. They would see often video depictions of the work, and talk to the people who are doing the work firsthand.
We should mention that people want some more details, whether about this event and what else you have going on at the Institute. Is there some place they can check that out?
Absolutely. They can visit our website at bfit.edu.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Anthony Benoit from the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology.